Ulyana, it was unfortunate of you because you make such big work, and this is a relatively small scale institution, not intellectually, but architecturally. So we're only able to show relatively modest scale dry points, but perhaps you'll talk about the paintings now.
Yes, well, actually, that's what can everybody hear? Well, yeah. So I'm going to use some of the notes just to keep to the time, I think. Basically, thank you very much, the audience, organisers, everyone. Since I'm exhibiting very small works, I wanted to talk about the big aspects of my paintings. Those are the paintings that came before the drawings. The scale is about 2.5 meters, nearly 2.5 meters in height. So the impact, you may have seen them at the university library. They were exhibited in about 2012. Janine Beneer opened her talk with the words, if I could reveal anything that is hidden from us, at least in modern cultures, it would be to reveal something that we'd forgotten, that we used to know as well as we used to know our own names, and that is that we live in a competent universe, that we are part of a brilliant planet, and that we're surrounded by genius. So to touch this genius with my 6 senses, to internalize it on a physical level as a muscle memory by drawing form, by mimicking the process of creating form, is what gets me up in the morning and gets me to go into the studio. On the bigger scale, I see my work as an attempt to connect to the world by understanding its parts. It's an experience of evolution, of form as I create it on the canvas. It starts to become tangible, and then it changes immediately in our own mind on the canvas as well. It's a process of nature. It's a search for the shapes on the canvas that can help us understand ourselves, contemplate our present, contemplate our past and history. And it's above all a way of learning about myself and evolving as a person, as a mind. My guidance in this endeavor have come from different disciplines, both artists and science. Maxwell has been mentioned before, been one of the influential figures. So I always was fascinated with the question, how? As a painter, I have studied old masters. I wanted to understand their process. I did transcriptions of Velázquez, Rubens, various other artists. Here's my copy of Rubens's painting, and this is a copy of top part, the portrait of Rayleigh, that's in Cavendish Laboratory, now resides above salads at Trinity Dining Hall. So one of the main reasons for copying work was to understand how this artist painted the edge of the form. The way they done it, it was clear, yet it melted away into the surrounded in very natural way. I was fascinated by the micro events that appear at this edge of the form as the form emerges from one plane into the other, and at what was their thinking behind the process of working on the edge. So here's an example from later work by Rubens and by Velázquez. Shows clearly how the figure sort of melts away, the edges, especially in the shadows, just disappear, yet the form is clear. So what I was wondering is whether somehow intuitively they sensed what we know from science now, that atoms travel from one form into another, that from optical perspective there are no clearly defined edges, which is part of the problem when working with form recognition and CCTV process, as described really well at David Marr's book Vision. So is it possible that artists have sensed and responded to ambiguity of form, a form's edge, as a kind of manifestation of entropy? And I allow myself to use entropy in quite a broad way. I hope Maxwell won't be offended. But have they tried to integrate it into their work as a favorable condition to achieve likeness to nature and to connect to nature? So is it hardwired in our perception? The observation that led me to this thought was that many artists have started their career painting edge in a very clear, defined way. So the edge is a separate entity. Pointer. Sorry. So here's Velázquez's work. You can see that it's painted almost in a separate color. It separates the form from its surrounding. So it's neither the part of the body nor it's part of the background. So it is in a way similar to the way we would teach the child to draw, to outline the form. As they advanced in their career, they changed from using the brush marks that follow the line of the form to the softer brush marks that bleed or drag the form's edge into its surroundings. So you can see how the edges disappear and the brush marks often take on the S shape that takes a little bit of the edge of the form and then drags it out into the surrounding, as opposed to following the line of the shape or the form that they delineate. The edge becomes more flowing, more at once with surrounding. And here is Titian's work. You can see especially the arm at the top of the nymph in the later work, how it literally melts away and there's kind of plumes of paint go connected to the sky. Same case with El Greco, and see the brush marks are sort of almost flick the paint outwards in the later stage. And here's Rubens's figures. Again, the very clear distinction between the form and the edge in earlier work, and a very, very soft treatment of different textures of form and the background in the later painting. So to achieve this on a physical level, they relied on varied viscosity and fluidity of paint. They utilized different light, the way it reflects from different depths of paint, different textures as the paint layers accumulate, and obviously the variety of opacity of pigments available. For example, to create depth in the shadow area, they would apply multiple semi-translucent layers of paint using warmer colors, which are umbers, ochres, earth-based colors that have high level of iron ore. And in the light areas, they'd use thick layers of opaque pigment that reflect light. So what that would achieve is that the eye would follow the distribution of light rather than the edge of the form, recognizing that the form is built from vibration, that the form is shaped by light waves rather than hard edges. It would create a sensation of depth and the depths, the scale, and the sensation of following the light rather than just separate parts of the pictures and form. Their way of depicting the form opens the painting to interpretation by the viewer in a similar way as the visual information we receive from our surrounding is interpreted by our brain to create forms that we see. Interpreting form in this way in art has also deeper social implications that are challenged in modern art by harder, crisper edges, sharper visualization, such as in digital photography and design, other forms of art. So I have attempted to engage with some of the aspects that those artists worked in my own work. Those are industrial forms. Again, the scale is quite large, 2.5 approximately. So here I've taken this idea of entropy, the concept of entropy, and the events that happen at the edge of the form, and scaled them up. So the flow of the brush mark that connects different elements within the form bleed into the background and create a micro events, create a sort of threshold that's active, that become the most active part of the image. So it becomes an event in itself. So the scaled up brush marks and scaled up fluidity of paint and playing around with those two aspects. I often take an idea and try to approach it in different ways. So here's the contrast between two ways of treating the edge. Again, one painting, photos painting called Sakura. This is Consumed 3, and deals with the way interpretation of the body. On the right, the body melts into surrounding. The edges are soft. Sometimes there is no clear distinction between the line of the body and the edge, whereas on the right, the outline is very crisp, very clear. And what I find that the high contrast and emphasized sharp delineation of the body creates an element of design and creates a sense of product, a consumable that's divorced from nature, as opposed to a softer approach where the body becomes part of its surrounding. In this painting, entropy, things are quite literal. It's again exploration of textures, the jumble, disintegration. The images explore sort of loss of personal coherence, loss of personal space, being overwhelmed by information, useful, useless information, material aspects of life, and social pressures. It's composed of different elements, which is steel girders of modern architecture, glass, pipes from the images from industrial processing plants, parts taken from, elements taken from newspapers from the time of fall of Gaddafi, and compressed into an image. So they constitute more or less elements that I personally was exposed to within a space of 2 or 3 months, and then put together in this very almost indiscriminate way to have a sort of snapshot of what's gone into my mind within that space, and to see how that sort of jumble, without being given any sort of specific preferences to any particular part, would actually come out. Next one. Yeah. So as sort of forms, shapes overpopulate our personal space in big cities, the elements blur, and distinction between the material possession and our bodies, cars, obscure. The geometric elements, the shapes, are a diagrammatic representation of mitochondria and ribosomes that are microorganelles that constitute, they are part of our body, and they're responsible for generating energy, for production of energy in our bodies. So here they used in a diagrammatic way to try to bring back a sort of together scattered elements of form that are integral to our body. The result I hope for is a tension, a sort of relationship between forces of low and high entropy, search for a perfect balance that probably never achieved in nature. So building further on this interest with displacement of form and visualization of entropy is the painting 01. Those are the 3 stages of the same painting. In this image, it plays with the overlap of pattern of organic and inorganic structures. The piece is 1,000 rectangles divided between 2 views, a steel mill and a tree. First, I masked out half of the rectangles on one large canvas, again 2 meters 40 in height. And then I painted the image of the steel mill from Ukraine that I'd taken a photograph during my residency there. Then I've removed the masked out areas, creating blank spaces, and projected an image of a tree, again taken from the same area in Ukraine, onto the blank spaces, and started filling them in with this picture of the tree. The choices of image and placements were made purely for the sake of contrast between the 2 environments and weren't altered in any way, so at least not to fit with each other on purpose. What emerged was quite a fascinating study of our ability to find patterns and connections. So people who viewed this work often commented as seeing the pipes of the steel mill becoming branches of the tree. And what I found interesting is nobody commented, or nobody said that they saw branches of the tree becoming part of the steel mill. So can this suggest that our form recognition is biased to the laws of nature before we know of them? That ultimately we are drawn to nature and its genius in everything we do? And what I hope for is that this may inspire some to redesign the coloring book and to paint by different numbers. So thank you very much.